So, Corrupted Youth, this is my baby, if you will. I started writing this, well, not writing, but I started coming up with this in March of 2011. Senior year of high school, I thought, I'm going to college, might as well, make some big project, because, I've always wanted to make a longer project than just a short film. So I thought, let me come up with something. It started with the character of Johnny. Had a lot of influences with his character, namely Fight Club, Clockwork Orange, Watchmen. A lot of influences from those movies, and I want to make sort of this charismatic, sort of morally ambiguous character, and I somewhat base it off myself. Like Johnny is basically my evil twin. And so I started coming up with, the character at first, then the story sort of developed out of that, college setting, might as well utilize it when I'm there. Started writing it about 6 months later in October of 2011. Then I wrote it about on and off for a year and a half. And then I finished it finally in August of 2012. The first draft had about 60 pages. Showed it to a few people. Didn't do a whole lot after that. But then I decided that I was gonna transfer to Temple for the film program because they have a really good film program there, and the whole movie was planned to be shot at my current college right now. And once I figured out I was transferring, I was like, okay, I have to shoot this movie or it's never gonna get done. So I decided December or January around then that we're gonna shoot this. I completed the script, added about 10 pages to it, went over it with a few of my friends, and starting in the spring semester, we finally started shooting it. I would have loved to do a lot more pre-planning with it, with at least a shot list and rehearsals, but we really had no time to do that. It had to have been done spring of 2013, or it would have never gotten done ever. I made the choice to cast me as the main character, Johnny, and my best friend Zach as the character Jake, because, well, one, I sort of wrote the characters somewhat for myself and Zach, but at the same time, this movie also would not have gotten done if we didn't cast both me and him as the main characters, because, getting other people to shoot a feature-length film during school would have been hell.
My name is Vincent Gracie, and I play Dan in Corrupted Youth. And how I got involved with this project was I had previously worked with Spencer and Zach on a film called No Sparks, where I was a henchman or a thug, and I died like 5 seconds into the movie or something. What happened was I really liked making the film so much. Like, it was my first time ever filming a movie of any sort, and so I contacted Spencer and asked, "Hey man, I loved working with you. Like, would you be interested in doing another project sometime?" And he said, "Yeah, I'd be down with it." So then he went to me with the idea for this film, and he told me he had a character in mind for me to play, and I was like, "Sweet, yeah, I'm in." Daniel Tobias Cumbercube, or Dan as we call him in the movie. I guess he is more of a yes man, so to describe him. When you first see Dan in the film, he's basically your average party guy. You see him like pouring the whole bottle of vodka into Jake's cup, trying to talk to the chick that won't even talk to him and everything. It's just a party guy at first. Like, doesn't really seem important at first. And then he sees what Johnny is doing and beating up these dudes that really do deserve what's coming to them and everything for all the bullcrap that they're doing. And, he likes it. He likes seeing these assholes get what they deserve. And so he wants to be a part of it. And so from there, like, in the beginning of the film, Dan is very into Johnny's plan. Like, he is the first guy to say yes. He is, like, always there. Johnny tells him to jump. He tells him how high. I guess you could say he's sort of his right-hand man a little bit in the beginning. But then later, when we meet Jason, Dan's a little bit more hesitant about the idea. And considering how much more brutal Johnny progresses in the movie with his actions, Dan is, it's too much for him.
So we've had a lot of struggles throughout this entire film. I mean, obviously, no budget, done by 20-year-olds, and, done during, a semester of college. So obviously, just inherently, there's a lot of problems there.
It's a no budget film, so we really couldn't pay anybody for it, so we were working on other people's time, and scheduling was incredibly difficult. We had me, Spencer, and Vince, and then our main camera person was Dominique, Spencer's girlfriend, and we had those four committed people. But aside from that, there's a lot of people that appear in this film for, you know, 1, 2 scenes, and it was really hard to get everyone on the same page and schedule all these things, especially during the spring semester for everyone. Everyone's taking classes, they're busy with other things, other clubs, tests, studying. So I think that was probably the biggest difficulty on this film. We did begin pre-planning in January, but we didn't really begin shooting until about a month into our spring semester. In beginning of March, we began shooting for the film. And during the first month especially, I had some doubts, and then a little bit more along the next month and a half, 2 months, I had more doubts that we'd actually be able to finish this film. And it actually came down to the last day. I had an exam on Monday, and we finished principal photography the Sunday night before that exam, and I was leaving that Monday, so it was the last day we could have shot anything. So it really came down to the last time we could shoot anything, we finished shooting. The one time that I thought we really weren't going to finish the film was the Saturday of St. Patrick's Day weekend. We had a very quick shoot planned. It was only going to take maybe an hour and a half to shoot. It was classroom scenes for when Jake and Johnny, it's their first week of classes. And basically one person showed up to that shoot, and we had planned it, several weeks in advance, so we thought it was going to be, we would have enough people, but no, they didn't show up. And that was kind of the epitome of all of our scheduling issues. We had like 5 to 10 people who said they were going to be able to do it that day, who basically canceled at the last minute. And then it's not even that important of a scene, but it's just so crushing to have so many people cancel at the last minute that I really thought that we might not be able to finish the movie, because our schedule kept getting pushed back. Spencer did schedule us, so we had about 2 weeks of cushion to have delays, but I really didn't think we'd be able to finish the movie at some points of the shooting.
I originally scheduled it to have each weekend is dedicated to a certain location for different scenes in the film. Like the first 2 weekends were going to be just dorm scenes, then like campus scenes, then fight scenes and such. But after a few weeks, that whole idea kind of just fell through, just because certain people weren't available at certain times. One of my actors was in a play, so there were just a lot of that whole scheduling idea just kind of fell through, and then we ended up just shooting whenever we could.
Because we had to work around class schedules and everything, we couldn't do as much pre-production planning as we would have liked to do. For example, we had to rehearse scenes and memorize lines pretty much when everybody was there, and since we could only get everyone there on the weekends when we wanted to film, we would rehearse the scenes pretty much right before filming. Also, when we were setting up shots, we did some pre-planning of shots, but for the most part, a lot of the cinematography was actually done on set while we were, the actors were going over lines. Spencer and Dominique, and sometimes me or some other people on set, we would set up the shot exactly how we want it. So it was difficult that we didn't have as much time as we would have liked for all the pre-planning in the movie.
We actually hardly use any external lighting in the entire film, mainly because in the dorm here, with both lights on up top, it's very diffused, very bright, gives us nice even lighting, and it looks very good. And about a third of the movie takes place in the dorm. And then a lot of the outside places on campus, different buildings, the lunchroom and everything, that also gave us pretty good, decent lighting. We didn't really need any external lighting, and that just would have been really difficult to, have in there. And then obviously at night, we just try to find really well-lit locations during those scenes. So in terms of external lighting, very little actually, which is pretty amazing. And that was also largely because of time issues, and we also didn't have a lot of people on crew too. I mean, sometimes we'd only have 2 people, one on camera, one on boom, sometimes even just one person on camera. So getting both crew and cast in this movie was very difficult.
this film actually requires several adult or adult-looking people to be actors in it, and we thought it would be really difficult to do that, to schedule those people, to get those people in. But surprisingly, those were actually the easiest scenes to shoot. The police scene where Spencer, Johnny, confronts the police outside of the dorm, and the guidance counselor scene were actually some of the smoothest shoots we had. We planned more for those shoots, pre-planned more than some of the other shoots, just so we knew we would be ready when we had adults there. But those went really well, actually, and I was really happy with how that turned out.
It's been a difficult challenge, you know. Sometimes actors will be fussy, or sometimes, you know, a shot's not working well, or we're going late, and you know, I try to manage everything as much as I can. But you know, I was up for the challenge. You know, I knew it would be very difficult to do all these duties on a feature-length film, and I think I actually impressed myself by the fact that I've been able to get this whole thing done. It's a lot, and luckily after this film, I don't have to be lead actor for anything, so I can be behind the scenes more, and that'll be great.
We were rehearsing and filming this fight scene in a parking lot. It was very well lit, and it was kind of a one-shot, mostly fight scene. We kind of got into it. It looked pretty realistic, and we had just finished a pretty good take of the shot. Basically, like, we're beating up Colton. He's fighting back. He pushes off, punches, you know, trips me, and then he runs off. Spencer chases after him, and then we see like tons of police lights rushing in at us, sirens, you know, 4 police cars just like go right into the parking lot, and we had no idea what's going on. We was like, oh, what's going on? Police? What? I was actually on the ground, and so I didn't see what was happening, but I heard the sirens, and when I looked up, I just saw 4 police cars parked and officers running over towards us, and I was like, shit. They were screaming at us to put our hands in the air. So like, we're sorry. We're just filming a movie. So these 4 cops come over to us, and they quickly, I guess, understand what's going on. They see the camera. Dominique has the camera in like this little holster thing that we have. So they see that she has a camera. One of the officers is like, hey, you can't record us, even though by law you can record police. But yeah, the camera's off. We were just like finishing up the scene, and it had been finished by the time the police were coming in. So the police are talking to us for, I don't know, maybe 15 to 20 minutes. It's not too long, but they want to run our IDs to see if we have any outstanding warrants, and none of us did, so we were fine. All of the cops recognized me from the cops jaywalking videos that we had, because I actually filmed that outside of one of their stations, one of the scenes for that. So that was funny. I actually did my Officer Russell Johnson impression to them. I said, hello, my name is Officer Russell Johnson. They kind of laughed at that and didn't beat me up for, you know, kind of making fun of the police a little bit. So that was amusing. And it was a little difficult, though, because we had finished such a great part of the scene, and we just needed like 1 or 2 close-ups of Colton on the ground getting like punched by Spencer. So we actually had to do that another time, because the police basically, they weren't going to let us continue filming, because it was like assault in progress, I think was what was called into them. Some people were passing us, and apparently it looked too real and they didn't notice the camera. So an assault in progress was called in. So they wouldn't let us finish like the 5 minutes of filming we needed to finish. So we actually had to come back another day. And on that day, another cop came, but we looked like we were loitering, and that turned out to be fine. We got, you know, like a 10-minute shoot done after that. But I think it turned out to be a really good scene, and it's a fun backstory.
Working on this film was a really cool experience for me. This was actually the first time I was actually a lead actor in anything. So that was interesting for me, really, just learning how it works on a film set, like, you know, seeing certain angles for the takes and seeing how, you know, how the stuff from the script transitions onto the screen and everything, and that was awesome. I really enjoyed doing my lines, obviously. I liked acting with Zach and Spencer for the most part. I loved just the interaction between the three of us. I thought we had a really good vibe going on. I also enjoyed like the fight scenes we were able to do because I was able to help Spencer and Zach choreograph these fights at certain points. That was awesome for me. I actually used my martial art talent and transitioned that to help out. There were certain struggles making this film too. Being we were delayed a few times, which was extremely frustrating. And you have to keep in mind, I was a senior in college, and I was taking 6 courses of my final semester, and so there were times where, I would be in the middle of studying for a huge exam, and I would get a call saying, "Hey Vince, we need you," and everything, and that was frustrating. And I also learned the hard way that sometimes it takes like 20 takes to just do a 2-minute scene. So that was interesting. But overall, despite some of the problems we had during filming, this was a great experience. I loved every minute of it.
So obviously the fact that this is no budget, working with college students, I've had to make a few compromises, as an artist. Mostly the fights, because, most of the fights I actually wanted to be, real fights where the two sides will go at it. But a lot of them just end up being beatings, mostly because, I wanted to speed things up because actors are like, oh, I'm going to go out, or, oh, I got to do this. Oh, I don't want to be here for too long. So I had to make some compromises in that area, and that's mostly been it, the fights. I think everything else, for the most part, has been my vision. Obviously, none of us are professional actors. I think we did the best we could considering everything.
Obviously, this is our first feature-length film that we've attempted, so going along with that, it was kind of a learning experience for us, especially Spencer because he was doing so much, but then also for me because I could kind of sit back and see what Spencer was doing, not doing, what worked, what didn't work, and it was kind of interesting to me. And both of us actually, I think, grew a lot as filmmakers from this project just because we battle tested stuff that we thought would work, stuff that we weren't sure, but tried it out and it ended up working or not working. So we got like a lot of knowledge just from making this film, and overall I really enjoyed it, and I think it was a very good learning process for us. Now any short film that we attempt is going to seem like cake, oh, we'll just shoot it, it'll only take like a weekend or instead of 2.5 months, or it just a really good experience overall.
I'm a movie star because I wear my sunglasses inside and, just do whatever I want. I'm a prima donna. That was always my trailer. It's probably the worst actor to work with because, I'm a prima donna and I'm a movie star.